From the Heroes vs Villains training with All Might, Deku and the class sit, waiting until Aizawa comes through the door, explaining where they're going to today. The USJ. The class gets excited. Another training session? In a proper facility? They're brought back down by the explanation of it being rescue training. Though bummed out, they hop on the bus and get going anyway. On this bus ride, they start a discussion. Who do they think's the strongest in the class? They think for a while. In terms of quirk, it's gotta be Todoroki and Bakugo, but technique, it's not even close. They begin to ask Deku questions about how his quirk works, how far he can stretch, if everything can stretch, no duty. He answers, keeping Gear 2 hidden for the time being. Uraraka bringing it up due to her seeing it in the entrance exam, but quickly being shut down by Deku. They arrive at the USJ and start getting their talk. Pro Hero 13 was currently yapping. Deku, not caring much, decided to look around, meeting Aizawa's eyes, who was currently staring him down. Deku freezes before slowly turning back to 13, stopping halfway. Aizawa's confused, watching Deku's reaction as his eyes go wide. Aizawa looks down too. There was a black mist appearing. He immediately gets ready, telling the class to back down and there's something serious going on. Deku, though reluctant, would listen, huddling together with the rest of the class as the villains group forms below them. Aizawa starts fighting. Pro Hero 13 huddles them together as a black mist figure would teleport from the middle to the top of the USJ. The class is in shock. Who the hell? He begins talking and introducing their group, but is interrupted by two familiar people, Bakugo and Kirishima, rushing right in to try and get a counter attack on Kurogiri. He slips them away as if they had never been there. They open a huge portal and surround the class. Deku, seeing this, would jump backwards, trying desperately to get out. He looks back, seeing it slowly form around. He shoots his arm out, grabbing the top of the USJ, would yank himself free, watching as the rest of his class get pulled into the mist and completely disappear before his eyes, leaving a small group there. He looks around, watching as they all plummet from the sky to random parts of the USJ. So they're separating us. Kurogiri locks eyes with him. Think you could get away, rubber brat? Deku looks back as the portal is placed beneath his feet. He shoots up, his arm at the ceiling again, swinging out of harm's way before he pulls himself up again. He shoots both arms back, flinging himself forward and looking back at the villain who was chasing him, not seeing another portal pop up in front of him. He shoots himself through the portal, looking around at the landscape change as from one to rocks to suddenly water. Suddenly he falls from the sky, being grabbed by Asui's tongue, who was already on the boat with Mineta. They place him down and ask him what's happening. He explains that everyone was sent to what seems like random parts of the USJ, and that he saw where the rest of them are. Deku looks around, seeing the villains surrounding the boat he was standing on, so they were trying to divide and conquer. He looks at the other two before looking at the riverbank. You ever flown before? Their faces go pale as Deku picks them up with one hand and shoots them towards safety. He himself stays on the boat. He could do the same, but the villains might follow. He puts one of his hands onto the floor, blood pumping from his legs to his heart at top speed. Second gear! Steam erupts from him as he looks around at the villains. In a blur, he appears above them. Gum Gum Gatling! The water below him begins to shake and stir as the villains get pounded. Mineta from the sidelines throws some balls, taking easy care of the water villains. Deku then jumps off the boat, creating a huge shockwave as he borderline teleports to the riverbank. He stammers a little bit and breathes heavy. Steam still surrounding him. He looks up, seeing Mineta and Sue's face drop. What he sees is something he never thought would happen. His teacher, bloody and broken as a huge figure stood over him. Deku didn't even think. Gum Gum Pistol! From range, he clocks his arm back, shooting his arm at the Nomu, which stammers him back a little bit. The Nomu takes its gaze off of Aizawa and stares at Deku as Shigaraki begins to laugh, explaining how he's here to kill All Might. Deku's shaken by this. Gear 2 didn't do anything, and he's still got Aizawa. He looks over with a more determined look. Guess it's time to go big. He brings his finger forward, biting down on it as he takes a huge breath in. He inflates his arm bigger and bigger than the entrance exam, locking in on the Nomu as he rushes forward. Shigaraki speaks. Nomu, watch out for this brat. Deku is already mid-swing though. Gum Gum Giant Pistol! The fist connects, sending Nomu flying backwards through a wall or two. Aizawa being dropped. Deku with his other hand would grab him and bring him backwards, throwing him to Mineta and Sue. Deku's still looking on, keeping the air in his arm as to not turn into a baby. He looks on in horror as the black figure begins to get back up again. Walking through the destroyed walls, it just slammed through. Shigaraki laughs in the background. Seriously? You think that was enough, young hero? How pathetic. Your stupid rubber powers are no match, kid. You're out of your league. Nomu rushes at him, connecting fist to his stomach before he could even react. The punch is so powerful, Deku's stomach is physically stretched back with the impact as he rockets backwards into the boat. He slams up against it, coughing up blood. No, blunt damage isn't supposed to hurt. Why does it hurt so much? Deku shakes himself clear, jumping back off the boat to safety, watching as the Nomu rushes at his classmates with Aizawa. Gum Gum Gatling! Mid-air, Deku starts pushing the Nomu backwards as the three of them escape, rushing up the stairs with Aizawa. Deku watches on, not giving up a second as they made their way up. He lands and keeps pressing the Nomu. They weren't safe yet, nowhere near. He couldn't give up. He brings the amp from his fist and sends it to his right foot. Let me try this one. Gum Gum Giant Axe! The foot connects with the Nomu, sending him backwards, but once again, no clear sign of damage. Deku's horrified. He couldn't win. He presses on anyway, throwing kick after punch at the Nomu and Shigaraki mocks him in the background. You will never be All Might, kid. Give up and succumb to the Nomu. Then maybe your symbol of peace can meet his end. Deku forces himself to go Gear 2 again, trying desperately to at least hurt the Nomu, but he's too slow. Just as he's saying this, the Nomu rushes in, closing the distance and once again connecting with Deku, this time on his face. He's shot to the staircase, slamming in and being knocked straight out. Bakugo and Todoroki stare on in horror from the sidelines, watching as blood pools and spits from Deku. Todoroki flash freezes Nomu in an instant as Bakugo rushes towards Deku's side. Still breathing, thank God. Deku fades in and out of consciousness, watching on from the sidelines half asleep. The Nomu twitches in the ice, breaking free almost immediately as it starts rushing Bakugo. He couldn't even see it move. He couldn't dodge. As it was about to connect, something broke its focus. Someone. I am here. All Might had finally arrived, and he wasn't smiling. He shoots down the stairs, stopping right next to Bakugo and Deku. What happened? Young Izuku, are you okay? He shakes Deku a little, but gets no response. Now this was personal. All Might stood, slowly, ripping his tie clean off as he stares the Nomu down. So you finally came. Symbol of Pete. He's cut off as All Might rushes in. He didn't want to hear the bullshit. He stopped midway by the Nomu. Bakugo screaming from the sidelines, telling him about its multiple quirks and how strong it is. All Might from the beginning goes over 100%. Pissed and mortified that one of his students got hurt because of him not being there. A light glimmers in his eyes as he sends the Nomu flying right into orbit with about 6 punches. Shigaraki's completely shocked. You're supposed to be weaker. They immediately dip into a portal. All Might had murder on his mind. He couldn't even see it. The USJ is cleared off of any small fry villains in the facility. Seeing the carnage below them, they take Deku and Aizawa to a hospital right away, running tests on both of them. Though they were injured, they both seemed to be recovering just fine. Deku stood and walked to the bathroom, looking at himself in the mirror. He was just playing hero this whole time. They're dispatched the same day and covered in bandages. Aizawa talks to Deku, asking if this happened because of him. Deku keeps quiet. He didn't even want to speak. This didn't happen because of Aizawa. It happened because of him. He couldn't even joke around. He needed to get stronger, no matter what.